I'm deep in the Matukituki Valley, which is in the heart of the South Island of New Zealand. Andrew Tischler has volunteered to give us a guided tour, taking us all to his favourite spots. The valley has a true bounty of subject matter. Almost every direction that you turn, there's another painting. So let's see what I can do. When we're painting, we should be looking at trying to create a certain amount of scale and what that things are in perspective, but also it's a dynamic scene, a really spectacular scene, because there's nothing like having someone view your work and they have that wow moment. But if you haven't heard, I host an online course on Patreon where we release 4 exclusive videos for our members every month, and you can sign up at the link in the top right hand corner. Anyway, back to the painting. So what we need to get is a lot of these blues back in here, so it's mostly ultramarine blue. And it's a trick to not go too dark. I've traditionally always gone a little too dark in my background hills or mountains or valleys, and it tends to force the background towards the viewer too much. In this early stage, it's not too bad being a little one value too dark, but we certainly don't want to get any more than that, because it can be then tricky to bring it back. So with this one, I'm using the person in the rowboat as a way to really sort of develop that scale, because we know the size of a average size human, and that brings everything right into focus. So we have that reference to bring it in. So I'll just put some of the basic shapes in at this stage, getting some of those blues for the reflection on the water. And still water normally is some vertical marks, but mostly horizontal marks. Okay, now I'm just finding some of those mid-tone and lighter values. There's a little bit of foliage in this area here, but we really want to get those mountain shadows in, and as fairly accurate as possible. The one great thing with oils is that if we go in thin, we can always work over it, even scrape it back if it is too thick, but we're building it up in those layers. So the top third of the mountain is the alpine region, where the snow will be for the biggest part of the year, especially of course through winter, but it's amazing there was still snow well into the spring. So now I can get that sky in, start to bring in some of the lightest values, and it also will give us a sense of direction where the light is coming from. But nothing like sort of a great backdrop of a big mountain, a big hill or a decent sized mountain, and this is quite a classic mountain where I can juxtapose the peak with where I've placed the canoeist and that little bit of light in the left on those rocks. Even the rocks, we know that there's trees in the mid-distance, so we're using those rocks as scale. If you were to just put your thumb across where the highlight of those rocks are, and you'll see that it starts to lose that sense of depth, the sense of scale. So we're using some simple little devices to create great depth and distance. So it's excellent to come in and see some of those brush marks going in. So sometimes it's more of a bit of paint on the brush and I'm just flicking it off, trying to mimic the shape and the nature of a tree, which is 3-dimensional. This was mostly a rocky area on the riverbank, but at this distance, it's far wiser just to treat it as one simple shape, because we can overlap. That's another great trick for creating depth and scale, is to overlap shapes. So we're using the foliage to overlap the shadow, and then the brighter, lighter tree foliage right up until we put some foliage in that bottom or mid sort of left-hand side. That'll be the warmest foliage. With the benefit of hindsight, I probably could have brought the horizon line down about 1 more inch, and that would have even increased the scale, or the sense of scale, even more, because there's a classic old thought process. The lower you bring your horizon line down, it'll only make everything above it, even if it's a sky and a very small mountain, it will create a sense of scale and a sense of grandeur to whatever is in the sky or mountains in the background, where the opposite is sort of true. If you have a high foreground, it'll reduce, it'll give you an extended feeling of walking in or travelling into the scene, but you won't get that similar grandeur. So just dropping in a few little blues there. And I'm always conscious of trying not to copy every sort of little crevice and little highlight, because most of the time that's a surefire way to just overwork it a little too much. But it's a lovely little focal point there. And there's just a nice little bit of light coming in. So as the canoeist is rowing, the little canoe's just leaning to the left a little, so we're getting a little bit more of a view. And even that small little shape will create depth and just add to that sense of scale as well, because it's just that sense of more and more depth. And there's a nice little shadow on the side of the canoe there. With a lot of these paintings, I'm really employing quite a bit of a shorthand. So it's not sort of a finished, finalised. So it's more research and development for future ideas. You can even see at this stage I've put a red hat on the canoeist, but I felt that was just a little too much, and I wanted the eye to travel more to the left arm, his shirt and jeans, and then also to the boat, with a few little highlights around it, just for directional lines. But super important to break the riverbank in the background as well, because that will just slow the eye down. And I've blurred the left-hand edge and the right-hand edge and tried to get the lightest, brightest area in close to the canoe and the canoeist. So it looks like I've just dropped something. Pretty well happens every painting. So this is really the stage where I'm just coming back and just putting some little notes of blue, little notes of shadows, just a little indication, because every little shape and every brush mark is adding to the overall effect.